Today we're here with Darius Contractor, who's the Chief Growth Officer at Otter. And he joins us after leading growth and product and engineering at iconic companies like Facebook, Dropbox, and Airtable. So we have a lot to learn from you.
Thanks, Merci. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So you're currently at Otter.ai, very important. This is probably, the most topical area that we have in product and engineering right now. I'm curious what the value of AI is to growth in product teams and what AI is uniquely good at.
So these days, I think AI can do like a set of tricks like very impressively. So it can suggest highly likely outcomes. And so this is the kind of like AI we had a few years ago of like top recommended. We've all seen in the last year how it can like reformat and summarize text very well. And now it can generate pretty amazing images and also turn speech back and forth into audio. And so some really amazing things that previously only humans could do. For a growth team, I think it can do some really interesting things. One, you can use AI in a number of B2B SaaS tools to really get insights from your data that used to be very manual. It used to be you needed a team of data scientists to be really cranking on the data for months and months to really figure out like what thing is associated with what other thing. Now there's some different tools off the shelf that can really help growth teams accelerate their understanding of the metrics and get insights from them and then drive more wins. So it really compresses that data understanding time. That's one part of it. Another piece that hasn't fully materialized yet, but I'm really excited about is I think eventually websites will a little bit tune themselves. Like one famous thing that growth teams will do will change the button color or change the text of a given part of the website. And those little tweaks where you're slightly changing text or color or layout are things that if coded into an AI, they could try out, see which one works, and then automatically do. There's a few sites that do this already where they'll kind of multi-arm bandit a number of different options and very quickly get you to an answer that used to take a growth team many iterations of careful tuning to do themselves. So I think there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity with this new AI world for a smart growth team.
Given that, are there any special skills that PMs or marketers should level up today in order to work on those tools?
I think a lot of it is soaking yourself in the state of the art. And so some of the ways that I do that are kind of keeping up with Twitter with people who are pushing the envelope on what tools can do, and then using just the best AI tools in the market. Obviously things like ChatGPT, Claude, and some prompt-based ones, but then also tools like Otter and I believe Panobi, where you can actually like the tool itself is using the latest AI to help you get insights, to help you make determinations, maybe even to make work products that you can share with other people without as much manual effort. And even just using these tools that are using AI to speed up their workflows might give you insights and ideas as to what AI today can do to speed up your product or help your users succeed.
Oh yeah, that's great. How is growing an AI tool like Otter different or similar to the work that you've done at places like Dropbox and Facebook?
One thing that's really interesting about AI, especially for Otter, is that the computer at times is the content creator. Historically, like, whenever you'd make a Loom, you'd sit down, hit record, say something, hit stop, then hit share, and it would be a pretty manual process. Same thing with Dropbox. Today, when you and I have a meeting and we catch up, like Otter joins the call, records the call, sends it to both of us, and then we have this like interesting asset that from the first moment it's created is created with no human effort, like just it's automatically created or no additional effort. We're already having a call. And then it's automatically shared and it's effectively co-owned by you and I. It's your speech and my speech. So it's kind of interesting. Even in these like little B2B contexts, you hit this kind of macro idea of like, who owns the content? How do we produce it? And it's a really superpower to be able to generate this content. But I think the trick is, I think of it like, I've been doing this for a while. I think of it a little bit like Adobe Flash. Like it almost gives you too much power. And so the trick is, how do you use this power in a way that's really satisfying and useful to users and not entertaining? Like even at Otter, one thing we realized is that we can spend all day just generating text and generating different kinds of summaries, but then people don't have all day to read them. So one thing we're doing right now is trying to really condense the summary and give you the absolute most important summary action points and like the gist of what's going on in order to like help you understand like what's going on with that meeting in the minimum time possible. So I think part of the trick is not just producing content with AI, but really thinking through your users' needs. And at the end of the day, reducing the user's effort for something they would have built themselves by building it with AI. And so, that's something where, Panobi does this as well, where you take those reports that you always have to send to management and they auto-produce reports. And so now you're just running experiments and forwarding like computer AI produced reports. That's really where AI shines, is kind of reducing that work about work, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's wild because it has been so time consuming, and so much of the role of a PMM or a PM is the work about the work. And we're finally about to cut the shackle on that. I'm excited. Cool. Are you hiring for any roles at Otter that you want to mention?
We are actually. We're hiring a senior PM on mobile and on monetization. So if you worked in
Cool.
SaaS, mobile apps or monetization, we'd love to chat with you.
Ooh, awesome. Yeah. Those are two really good roles, especially using AI on mobile or trying to boost conversion. We're going to end with our like little fun one. So if you could know any one metric about a company, past or present, which company would you pick and what metric would you want to know?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. One that comes to mind that's kind of present for me in my like B2B SaaS world is like the PQL motion. I feel like that's just
Yeah.
a really important thing that a lot of B2B businesses are trying to crack, where they just get, if you don't know about PQLs, what they are is oftentimes people have a freemium offering or some bottoms up offering that anyone can use for free. Thousands or tens of thousands of people will be using it. And then a PQL is a product qualified lead where you're trying to find a few of those free users that are worthwhile to have a sales conversation with. And so really what it comes down to is a lot of like data inspection and looking at user behavior to figure out which people are worth having that sales conversation and possibly upgrading to, say, a 5-figure deal. And so I feel like it's kind of like a nut that we're all trying to crack as an industry. And so I'd be really curious to see how a company maybe like Microsoft has taken their like, Outlook product and other like bottoms up motions and then done a PQL across them to try to figure out which ones are worth talking to for sales. I bet they have more mature thinking and instrumentation there than a lot of companies.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. And that loop too, because I think what has stopped a lot of the earlier companies that were trying to instrument PQL scores is the growth team would get together a PQL score and a list of leads. And then, if it's not a title that you're used to selling to, but the usage is there, it's hard to know as a salesperson how to approach that team. And then a company like Microsoft is going to have just the velocity to do the reps to really learn, all right, how do we pair the human motion with the PQL scoring and how do those things influence each other?
I think you're right. It really comes down to reps. Like you need that
Yeah.
like high intent and just the number of people and data scientists applied to it. And most companies have like a quarter of a data scientist on it, whereas they probably have a quarter of a company on it.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks so much, Darius. It's so great to have you on. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Mercy. This is a real pleasure.
Cheers.